All right, welcome back to the wood panel. We got Nate Newmaker. Is that how you say it?
Nunamaker.
Nunemaker.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's German. So originally it was non-mocker.
okay.
Yeah, and then the Americanized version,
Someone
Nunamaker.
asked me if it was Joe Dirt. If it's, I guess you probably get that
I
Joe
not so
Dirt
much
reference all
anymore,
the
but
time.
yeah, when it came out for a while, for probably like 10 years, people call me Nate Dirt.
Yeah.
I think the line's like that's why Dad named you Joe Dirt instead of Joe Nunamaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and So
So I get that, or not so much anymore, like I said, but
yeah,
I used to get it quite a bit. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Tell me about you.
Um,
I
yeah.
know you through the internet a little
Yeah.
bit. Maybe I've seen you at a show when I was a young kid,
Yeah.
but besides that,
I remember meeting you, I think, at Willis Music. Was
okay.
it Jordan Smith's band? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah, was it For the Fairest?
yeah. For the Ferris.
I think that's when I first met you. But yeah, we've I've seen you around. We've seen each other
Yeah,
around just like
exactly.
music scene. But yeah, so as of right now, I own a condiment sauce business called Farmer Nate's.
Yeah, I seen that.
And so it's like kind of a pandemic project.
Okay.
And then it turned into I have kind of like a addictive personality. So,
Same.
like for instance, I'm addicted to C4. I drink a ton of C4.
That's
So like
probably not
anything,
healthy.
yeah, probably not. But we all have our
Yeah.
vice. But pretty much everything I do, I go balls to the wall, all in.
Same.
And
I think we'll have a lot of in common when it comes to that.
yeah,
Once we start, talking about our different types of things that we do. But so you also do photography, videography.
yep. So I don't do that as a job anymore.
Okay.
So actually, before I started Farmer Nate's, I was assisting for Jeremy Kramer.
Yeah.
I was doing so he's a photographer. I was more into video.
Okay.
And when I originally started working with him, we were trying to get to where I was doing a lot more of the video. He was doing photo stuff. And it just ended up I kind of got more into the photo.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It was, I'm more of a creative person, so it was cool to like see, in my opinion, one of the best photographers in the
Dude,
city.
I'm obsessed with Jeremy Kramer's
Yeah,
photos. Like
he's
every
sick.
time I see him, I'm like, how is it so vibrant, so
Yeah,
clean, but also like so natural at the same time? But it just
yeah,
looks like if you turn vibrant and saturation all the way up, and then but it was still just very clean. And if I do that, this looks like a wonky
yeah,
abstract like mess.
yeah. I don't know how he does it. I've sat in on a couple like editing sessions with him as house.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's always staying like pretty much on trend, like learning. He doesn't just you know stick to what he knows, right? Like he's
yeah,
always trying to find new things, find things that look cool, find things that are in trend right now. And he's great too because he does like models. He also does product. He does corporate. He does everything.
yeah.
So, but yeah, he is, in my opinion, one of the best. And I had the opportunity to work for him for about 3.5 years until I launched Farmer Nate's
Yeah.
and went full time with it. So.
What were some of your favorite projects that you worked on, either with
Oh,
him or?
we did so one of my favorite photo projects he's a local guy, he's a video game developer.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember his name. I want to say Chris something. He owns a video game company. I think it's like phone games.
Oh, cool.
And that was cool. We used a nan light, which is kind of like a lightsaber light.
Yeah.
Changes colors, and we were kind of like throwing it around, creating light painting with it, and slowing the shutter and getting some like really kind of off the wall styles with
Yeah.
it. Other than that, a lot of my favorite stuff was when I did videos. So we did a music video for a band called Enemy. They're a local band. They're kind of like radio rock.
Yeah.
And Kramer was directing that one, and I was shooting it. And we came up with like a whole storyboard. It was they were kind of like on the run from the cops, and they ended up at a house party playing for a backyard show. And it was cool because we were able. The band was friends with a local policeman, and we were able to get his car and all of like the jail suits, and
That's sick.
it was pretty cool.
Dude, for me, like, so I film weddings, and for some reason, a music video just seems like such a like a large undertaking. It seems
Mm.
so like
That's interesting.
nerve
I feel like
wracking.
weddings would be
Yeah.
more nerve
Well, I
wracking.
think just because, I've been to so many weddings
Yeah.
now, and like I had like so much mentorship through weddings. I just feel comfortable at a wedding, but for
Yeah.
some reason, like I don't know why. Even I'm sure there's not like a crazy amount of money in the music video scene, especially
Yeah,
like with
like local and
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I
There
don't know.
can be, but I mean to do a quality music video that you see on like,
Oh
wherever,
yeah.
I mean, you're spending a lot of money
I mean,
on
that's a whole
gear and
production.
location. Yeah.
That's not like one guy on an A7S3.
No,
That's
yeah, yeah.
like a straight
I
up
did
like
do a wedding one time by myself. It was video, and I wish I didn't do it by myself, but it was the hardest thing I ever did
yeah.
video wise. And after that, I was like, no more weddings.
Dude,
Um,
they can be nerve wracking.
yeah,
Obviously, if you're like they're paying you a lot of money, they are doing. It's like this is the most important day to people.
mm,
Like
yeah,
people care a lot about weddings.
yeah. They'll spend good money on good photos and good photos, video, and then I feel like flowers is something that people will
Yeah,
spend on
I
too.
seen something about flowers that just blew my mind. Like flowers are like $20,000 plus at like a big wedding.
I
I'm like,
believe it. One of
that's
my
insanity.
friends, she owns a floral company, and she does like flower designs at weddings, and I think they do pretty well.
Yeah, you'd
So
have to.
yeah,
So like as a kid or when did you like say, all right, I think I want to be a creative, I want to like create stuff, or was it like more of an entrepreneurial thing where like it made more sense that way, or
yeah. I think
what started these
I
ventures for
have.
you?
So I've always been kind of like odd and weird. I have the ADD and
Yeah.
I don't. ADD is a big one, and then I also have like OCD, so I'm like very particular about certain things.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of just like off the wall. I have my attention span's a little crazy. Not so much now that I'm growing older, but I always knew that like a normal job wasn't for me. Like
Right.
I don't have it in me to sit down and call people or type documents or whatever. Like that's just not.
Yeah.
I was in sleep in high school pretty much every single class.
Same, dude. Like,
I was a musician. That was my first like what
okay.
started out as like my creative path. I was playing guitar. I played in a band for like 7 years. And I always just thought that that's what I was gonna do, which is why I never cared about school. I
Yeah.
never, cared about math or English, which is funny because now that I'm older, I love educating myself,
Yeah, exactly.
but kind of on my own terms. So I always knew that I had a creative sense about me. I also always felt it in my gut that I would own a business. I just never knew what that
Yeah.
business was. You know what I
I had
mean?
the same thing. Like the exact same thing. I was asleep during school most of the
Yeah.
time. I retained a lot of stuff that I liked. I really liked history, so I kind of listened there. And then the same thing, I was just like, dude, every time I worked for somebody, I was just like, this isn't for me. Like I'm not
Yeah.
the kind of guy that like wants to just listen to somebody all the time. I
Right.
just feel like all and then the same thing. I was like, I'm gonna own a business. I didn't know what it was gonna be, and still sometimes I don't, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And
It doesn't have to be
the
one
issue
thing
I have
either,
too is I don't know like what it would be considered, but I just get very bored with things
Mhm.
easily.
Yeah.
So it's like
If you're not passionate about it,
yeah.
I feel like we're similar in that area where like you have to have a passion and love for it.
Yeah. And
Um,
I feel like the passion is what drives to do all these things.
yeah,
It's just like finding these different outlets. And sometimes I'm
yeah,
like, dude, this has ran its course for me and I've like loved it as much as I can. And it's
yep,
like, you're still going to get the same amount of passion from me. It's just going to be in a different outlet. But I feel like barbering, photos, and buying old stuff is all just stuck. And it's like finding ways to make money with those three things
yeah,
are just fun for me.
mhm,
And I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, well, you have to make money in this world to
yeah,
live. So I
yeah.
hope that I can do that with these things.
Money comes and goes too.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
that is one thing that I feel like is beneficial towards me is I grew up in a pretty, I don't want to say like bad situation growing up, but I didn't have a lot growing up. So
Yeah.
like for me, money has never been the driving factor. It's
Yeah.
more so been kind of just like, what do I want to do? Like what
Right.
fulfills me, right? As far as we know, this is the only life we get. So I want to chase the things that make me joyful, in here, not so much fill my pocket. Like
Yeah.
obviously money's cool because you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
buy cool stuff with it or whatever. But that's my main goal is just finding stuff that satisfies me, and I've done a lot of that. And yeah, Farmer Nate's is the one thing where I feel like has finally stuck.
Yeah.
And it feels right. It feels like it's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And they in high school when we were growing up, they always told you like go to college, get
Dude.
a job, work there for 40 years, retire with your gold Rolex or
Yeah.
whatever. But like, I think there's a shift happening, especially after the COVID
Yeah.
pandemic too. I think people are starting to realize like, oh, wait a second, I don't want to do this the rest of my life.
Right.
Which is really cool. I'm seeing more and more people quit their job just because they're not happy with it. And
Dude, and I love to
yeah,
see that. So the same thing with like, I feel like money is like a deep talk that you can have, but like having money only does like a certain, and that's where it's like how much money creates like the
right,
kind of freedom, because what it's doing is creating a freedom for you to be able to be the person you want to
yeah,
be. And I try to instill that in people all the time. And it's like the same thing you're saying, like, dude, if you're not happy at your job, we are promised this one life. Like, there's a lot of stuff about everything else, and
yeah,
like, I hope that there's something
yeah.
going
But
on.
this is the
Yeah,
one
this is the one that you're
guaranteed. Yeah,
guaranteed. So it's like if you're not happy in anything, just
don't waste your time.
don't waste your
Yeah,
time doing it,
yeah.
dude. Like
But I think the boomer generation. I think yeah, like I was saying,
they blasted us to go to
yeah,
college
yeah,
and
yeah,
coming out of high school, you're like, well, I guess I need to do that so
yeah.
I don't look like a loser to all
Did you
these
go to
people.
college?
I did for 3 years, yeah.
3 years? Where'd you go?
UK,
Okay.
yeah. And then the scholarship I had ran out, so I had to pay like out of pocket for the whole last
Mm,
year, and I was like, I'm not doing
yeah,
this. Like
yeah,
this is $35,000, and
yep,
everyone I know that just graduated cannot find a job, and
yeah.
now it's tenfold worse now.
Yeah, I mean it's a scam at this point.
It
It's
is
just
a
gotten so
scam.
much more
Even
expensive.
professors are saying it's a scam.
Yeah,
They're like, well, if you're not going to be like one of these top three,
yeah,
doctor, lawyer, engineer, it's like, why would you go to these schools?
yeah. Why would you go to? I know a lot of my friends went to school for graphic design and photography, and
Yeah,
they spent 4 years, 2 years, however long, spent a bunch of money, and it's like we have YouTube University now. We also you can learn things just by doing them.
yeah,
I feel like in the creative world, you don't necessarily need a degree anymore to be
yeah.
like, hey, I have learned this. You could just show that with your resume, like with your work, right?
Right. Dude, I'm
Um,
so obsessed with YouTube and self education through that. Like, I get in these spurts where it's like, all right, I see this and I'm like, dude, this guy is amazing. I want to learn how to do this. And then, like, I get in like a mental block, like, am I good enough to do this? And
yeah,
then, it's like, I kind of start fighting with myself. And it's a hard battle, but it's like, all right, I learn a little bit and then I go through that. And then I learn a little bit and get back in that rut. And it's like trying to, and then all of a sudden you're like, dang, I
yeah,
kind of know some stuff,
yeah. I
And
mean, I think that's the biggest thing is just consistency.
yeah,
Keep doing it. Something I always say all the time is the only guaranteed way you fail is when you stop or
yeah,
quit. But I mean, I think people underappreciate the fact that you can just if you just spend time every day doing it, it might not in the short term seem like anything. It might not seem like you're making progress,
yeah,
but if you compile and compound doing the same thing, for 10 years, you're gonna look back and be like, holy shit, like this is, so
a
that's
huge body of work,
yeah,
dude. Like,
yeah. I think that you could be anything you want if you just continually stay persistent and
yeah,
consistent.
dude, I tell people that all the time, like, because they're like, well, how'd you start doing this? How'd you start doing that? I was like, I just started.
Yeah.
It's
That's what
like
you gotta do.
I
Yeah.
just said, okay, I want to do that, and just started doing the steps to do it. And I truly think if you just put your mind to anything, there's nothing in this
Yeah.
world that you can't do. Because
For
if you
sure.
meet the top people in all these businesses, like they are extraordinary people, but a lot of times it's their people skills. It's not
Yeah.
like they're like an extroverted genius that is just, a savant of anything. It's just a savant of people skills.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're waiting for the right time or waiting for everything to be in order to get started, you're gonna be waiting forever.
Yeah.
It's like with buying a house. It's with having a kid. It's starting a business. If you're waiting for all your ducks to get in a row, you're
Yeah.
gonna be waiting your whole life.
All right. So tell us about Farmer's Nate.
Yeah.
Like tell me how that started. What?
Yeah, yeah. So it started as a pandemic project. Me and Jeremy had slowed down a bit during the pandemic
Yeah.
because a lot of the shoots we were doing were corporate at that time, so a lot of those got kind of put on the back burner. And I've always kind of wanted to try my hand at growing my own food. I've always had interest in like the self-sufficient life.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Seems very hard.
yeah, and especially being in the city. I'm in
Yeah, a
I'm in
city's
Covington,
almost
so like
impossible.
no land. At the time when we started, we were in an apartment, and with a tiny little patch of like dirt in our back patio. So I went to the hardware store and bought a bunch of like starter plants, different seeds, um, planted them all, and pretty much they all grew, but the ones that grew the most were my peppers.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with them. I wasn't at the time one of those people that just would eat peppers. I'm still really not. But as a way to preserve it, I made hot sauce, gave it to friends and family. They really enjoyed it. I saw opportunity. I created a brand, LLC. I went and got FDA registered and approved, found commercial kitchen, and then officially launched in November 2021.
Sick.
Jungle Gyms was the very first wholesale buyer to purchase from me. And then as of today, we are in about 1,000 stores nationwide. We're
Dude,
on
that's crazy.
Amazon.com. We have a website. Next month, actually in May, this month, we're going to be going live on Walmart.com. Do about 250 like markets and shows a year. Got my first employee. I have a business partner. So things are starting to
Yeah.
take shape like a true business or like
yeah.
corporation. And we have a warehouse now, and it's pretty insane. It's
That is
it's
insane.
I have no chef background. This is my first like true business I've ever
Yeah.
owned. So I have no true background in business, which I think benefits me because I believe that if I had this set of rules to follow, I don't think I'd be as creative of a brand or
Yeah.
products. And we do hot sauces, we do seasonings, but I don't. From the beginning, I never wanted to be a hot sauce company.
Yeah.
I want to be a flavor company. The one thing that everybody has in common is we all like good food, right?
Yeah.
And I want to build or create other condiments that you can just make your food better with, and
Yep.
build relationships with people. And that's the most fun part is going out to these markets and these shows and these demos and just meeting people and just talking about food, right?
Yeah.
Like giving them recipes, they give me recipes. And so that's pretty much,
Dude, that's
where
kind
it's
of
at right
so.
now.
Anytime I do have any hobby, the way my brain works is like, how can I make this a business? And that's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's good and bad because it ruins a lot of things for me.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so I'm opening a vintage store. It's
Yep.
called Feel Something Vintage. It's going in Latonia. Our grand opening Saturday, this Saturday, 5 to 9. And dude, the process of doing an LLC, registering with the state, insurance,
Mhm.
tax ID numbers, like all this stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, did I make a mistake here?
And it feels like every year too, you're having to do more. Like they give you more stuff to do,
Yeah.
and more forms to do, and more things to pay for. Or at least that's what it feels like
Yeah.
to me.
And like I said, so I'm just starting out. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm like, dude, I hope this works out. Like,
Well, if you're doing it wrong, somebody will eventually let you know, and then
yeah,
they'll give you a chance to fix it.
Right.
So, which is how I kind of look at things.
yeah. So it kind of helps too because I have like a bunch of vendors coming in and renting a spot from me, and it's
Oh,
like
nice.
yeah. So there'll be it's like a big collective of people, and I really wanted to keep my face off of it as much as possible, which I still do going
Yeah.
forward. But it's kind of hard like when you have the small amount of followers you have on your own personal account and then not
Right.
trying to like cross it over with the business one until the business gains traction. But I'm super excited to like try to go to the shows and do stuff like that
Yeah.
and get into that community because
Yeah.
there's just a lot of, like I said, a lot of tight people in all these
For sure.
communities. That's like, I
And
wanna be in
Latonia
there.
is cool too.
Dude, Latonia is sick.
I think it's starting to catch on. It's yeah, because you have the Latonia Bodega, the same people that
Yeah.
opened up Oya,
Yeah.
the taco burrito joint in Covington. You got the Roost.
Yeah.
A lot of cool
Dude, and
places.
just the people that have came in and were like, dude, we love small business here, and like the small business community in Latonia is amazing, and I'm just super excited to be a part of that. I like to go to the meetings and try to just build small business in general there.
Yeah.
And like you said, I feel like Latonia is starting to catch on, and it's gonna be like that. I hope it's that next little hot
Yeah.
spot.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they need to do something with those weird little shopping malls, but where
Yeah.
your store's at is such a cool little place. And
Yeah.
I think that that's going to be a hot spot for
Yeah.
sure.
It's called Riddy's Corner right there, and
Yeah.
there's like 4 little like niche antique stores there, and
Hmm.
it's like it's just a cool little vibe,
Yeah.
and I haven't seen like any type of trouble there or anything like that. It just seems like a cool spot, and all day and night it's just people are loving small business, so I
Yeah.
love to be a part of that and see
How
how that's
many
going.
vendors do you plan on having? In, or
7.
7?
Yeah,
Cool.
so they're already full.
Oh wow.
So I knew, so I wanted to get a booth at first,
Yeah.
and getting on a booth wait list is like 3 years at these stores. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so there's definitely a demand for this. So then I was like, well, I met Heather. I was going there, and she was like going out of business, and I was like, what's gonna happen with like this store? And I was like, well, I'll call the guy. So I called the guy, and he had like 4 people call him, and I guess he just didn't like the vibe of what they were doing. Anyways, all of a sudden I was like, all right, I got a store. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure out how
That's
to
cool.
all
How
of a
to do
sudden
it.
own a store, you know?
Yeah. And that goes back to just getting started,
Yeah.
just doing it. Yeah.
And then I just started like, first I just reached out to people that like I loved their stuff, and I was like, dude, I love your stuff. Like I feel like we're on the same wavelength. Like I literally have nothing to show you right now. I have this building and I painted it. So
Yeah.
like, can you feel my vision? Can you see it?
Yeah.
And almost all of them were like, all right, I'll take a booth. And I was like, okay, this may have been a little bit too easy,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
I'm just get excited of like, you know, hopefully people just learn about it. And I mean, you got to market somehow and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And
Word of mouth.
yeah, word of mouth. And
Yeah.
I know nothing about all that stuff yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a barber, so I've built, you know, my own brand and my own business,
Right.
but that was because of our brand built, bringing people through
Yeah.
the word of mouth, bringing people
I think
through the door.
having other vendors will help with that too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. And a lot of
Um,
people that just move a lot of stuff on Facebook and stuff like
Yeah.
that, just a well-established client base.
Yeah. Word of mouth is the biggest. Have you ever? Do you read books?
Yeah,
Have you read The Tipping Point?
I have not.
You should read it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so it's Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about kind of how epidemics of trends, I guess, happen.
Yeah.
And it ultimately just comes down to word of mouth, right? So he
Yeah.
like brings up different brands and different businesses, how they kind of were just little guys, and out of nowhere it caught wildfire, and it all gets traced back to word of mouth.
Yeah.
So definitely suggest it as a read. I base my business and my everything pretty much off that book.
Cool. Yeah, I'm
So,
gonna definitely
yeah.
read that. I need, like, I'm a person that like I try to say all the time, like I never get stressed, I never feel overwhelmed, all those things, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh God, I'm feeling them. You know what I mean?
But I
Like,
feel like you have to.
yeah,
I feel like that shows you that you're doing something right.
right.
You know what
Where
I
it's
mean?
like, and because I'm huge on the same thing that we've just kept saying, I'm huge on taking risk. I'm just a
Yeah.
guy that's like, we're only here once, man.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and like,
I feel like too, if you don't feel that pressure, I don't know. I think that when you feel pressure, feel like you can't let it fail, right?
yeah,
Or like maybe you're in over your head. I feel like that can almost, push you along to want to get, overcome that
yeah.
because, um, I don't know. I think that if it was easy, cliche as it
Yeah.
sounds, everyone would be doing it.
I think it really like putting a timeline on something and like doing these things, and then like, okay, I brought people in that they're relying on me to get this stuff done. It's like it wakes me up.
Yeah.
It wakes me up in the morning. Like, oh, I can't sleep in past
Right.
8 o'clock. I got to get up. I
Gives
got
you
I
reason.
got a checklist of stuff, and there's not enough time in the day
Yeah.
to do these things, and it makes you so much more productive. And it's like,
I also think that you're not going to let yourself fail too.
Right.
So like a lot of people will come to me and want to talk about, like how I got my business started and how I got to the point of success where I'm at now. And I always suggest considering quitting your job, because if you don't have any income and your back's against the wall, you're going to find ways to make it work. You're
Yeah.
going to find ways to get your bills paid. And I just, I think that there's something to be said about kind of just going all in and I think it pushes you to
yeah.
succeed, right?
And I feel like, being all in for me is every time I'm like, all right, I have to shell out a little bit more money inevitably. And I'm like,
which is
this is
yeah,
stressful, dude. It's
yeah,
stressful. It's scary. And it's like, but I do live for that feeling. I feel like I
yeah,
have to have that to like make it work,
yeah.
you know, pushing
Money is
myself.
that's the one part that's because I feel like I'm always spending money,
Dude,
and
I
I'm like,
know.
I don't know how I'm gonna pay
Yeah.
this, and then somehow it just works out. You
Yeah.
just gotta trust the process, and it is the hardest thing ever. To just trust that what you're doing is gonna work, and trust the
Yeah.
process, and trust the universe or God or whatever you believe in, and it's the hardest thing ever. But I think that there is reward in just kind of letting go and just trusting it and just controlling what you can. And
Yeah.
I never, sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to get this paid and, or like this invoice paid or this person, whatever. And somehow it just works out always
Yeah.
at the right time. I'll have an invoice come in that, somebody paying me or whatever. Right. Like, it just always ends up working out.
Dude, and you have no idea how much that's like helping me right now. Cause it's like sometimes you're just, you're listening. I have a support system, but
Yeah.
it's like when the same people are telling you the same thing, it's kind of like, I'm kind of just tired of hearing it. I just want to like try to process this myself, but then like hearing it from an outside source and like it worked for you. It worked,
Yeah.
we're all kind of in a similar situation in this world. You know what I mean? And
Right.
sometimes people forget that other people have the same issues and types of problems that you have. And for me, I try to keep that in perspective, but sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, your own problems feel like they trump everyone's, and
Yeah.
having that perspective, I think, is huge.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's easy. I mean, for me too, I mean, it's easy to, I don't want to say woe is me, but just
Yeah.
like get so concerned about me that like, and my issues, that I just forget about everybody else. And sometimes not forget about my wife, but like, I don't necessarily put her feelings or emotions first. And then I snap out if I'm like, oh, wait, she's feeling stressed too. And this
Yeah.
person's feeling stressed, whatever. And it's easy to fall into that, just thinking of all the bad things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then forgetting about that other people are going through the same
Yeah.
stuff and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It all works out, and you just gotta trust. And I don't know. Even if it doesn't work out, you're not. It's not
Yeah.
gonna kill you.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Like it's a learning failure. You learn from your failure anyways. And
Yeah.
even if you want to, you don't have to call it failure. But like if it doesn't work out, okay, on to the next thing, right?
Right,
Like
exactly.
keep throwing things at the wall until it sticks, and you
Yeah.
figured it out. And I don't know.
No,
I
I
think a
like
lot of
that.
people give up. I think a lot of people are like, oh well, my business didn't work this time. Like I'm never gonna try again.
Yeah.
And that's sad because there's so many brilliant people out there, and like,
Dude, there's so many brilliant people, and
yeah.
I love seeing. That's one thing I love to see is just different ideas that people bring together.
Yeah.
It's like it's so fun for me because it's like I would never look at something like that, and they may never see it, how I would, vice versa. And I just find so much joy in that part of it. I just find joy in people.
Mhm.
A lot of times I joke because I'm a barber and all I do is talk to people. Or I'm
Yeah.
like I could sit in a room and just never talk to anyone ever again, but that's not true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I say that, but I don't mean it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you spend a whole day talking to however many people you talk
Yeah.
to. I'm the same way because I do a lot of shows, so there'll be a 4 hour period where I maybe talk to 500 people, or 200, whatever. And then by the time I get home, I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I
Yeah.
don't want to do nothing. I just want to sit here. I don't even want to watch TV. I
Yeah,
just want to
just sit in a
yeah.
black room,
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah, but then I wake up the next day and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go
exactly.
hang out with people or do whatever.
A good night's
Um,
rest can really fix a lot of
It can,
problems.
yeah.
It
That's
really
something
does.
that I value. I do know that for a while, I think it's changing now, but for a while, a lot of the stuff that we were being fed as business owners is like grind or like
Yeah.
grind culture or like hustle culture, and you should be working when the competition's sleeping.
Yeah.
And I value sleep.
Dude,
think
I
that,
watch so many things on sleep. Like I've read about
Yeah.
sleep. I value sleep more than almost anything on earth because of what it does to your body. Like
Yeah.
if-
It's important.
having like true REM sleep is just
Yeah.
it's crazy what that does for your body, and we run from it for so long because it's like, oh, we can't sleep, we can't
Yeah.
be like, but you can't function properly without it.
No, and I mean, if you are part of the hustle culture and grind culture and you stay up all night and you get like 2 hours of sleep, eventually that will catch up to you. And
Yeah.
then you're going to sacrifice other areas, right? Like you're not going to be able to give 100% to your business or to your partner or to whatever your focus is unless you get sufficient sleep.
It's not
And
possible.
no, it's
And
not.
there,
Yeah.
like, I know this guy. He's always like, "Oh, I just need like 4 hours." I'm like, bro, there's no
Yeah.
way you're
Yeah.
at your
Maybe for
optimal
like a couple weeks you
processing.
could do that, but it
Yeah,
will catch up to you.
yeah,
I
exactly.
I mean, and I feel like I heard that somewhere that people that sleep longer live longer.
Yeah,
I
for
heard people
sure.
that get more sufficient sleep.
That's
So
got to be true
yeah,
because you need sleep, bro.
yeah, you
Go to
have to.
bed.
Yeah, it's yeah, I love that is something that I value. I go to bed early every night, and then I wake up.
I gotta turn that on.
I wake up. I don't want to say late, but I wake up at like 8.
Yeah,
I don't get up at like 6.
yeah,
But yeah, I go to bed like 10,
dude. I'm like
10:30.
a chronic. I hate mornings. Like I'm not a morning person. I've never been in my life. It's been hard for me to wake up my entire life, and but when I go to sleep early, it's like it makes it better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm used to just being up all freaking night. I'm used
Right.
to just being a kid that would just stay up all night,
Yeah.
sleep till 10, 11, 12,
Yeah.
didn't matter. And then,
I didn't even stay up all night as a kid. I can probably count on one hand how many times I pulled an all nighter, maybe even less than that.
I do remember, so I was hanging out with these people and they're like, we're going to pull an all nighter. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So like, it was the
Yeah.
first time I ever done it. I can remember like, it was literally yesterday. They were playing Monopoly all night. They were just like doing like the whole thing, like trying to stay up all night. And I did it and I was like, this is horrible. Well, who wants to do this? This is like
Yeah.
the worst thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I could count on like, I have stayed up till like 3 or 4 in the morning
Yeah.
multiple times and then slept it off. But like staying up all night is that's
it's not fun.
grueling. That's
Yeah.
not good for you.
I worked at DHL for a while, not working like a full night shift, but from like I think it was maybe 10 to 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I even hated that.
Yeah.
Getting home at like 2:30 in the morning was the worst. And that was at a time where I was actually sleeping in my mom's basement, where there was no windows. So
Dude, that'll really put some type
yeah,
of different.
I
That's a
would
different
sleep all
kind of
day.
sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I everything was just it was pitch black. It was
I
awesome.
I truly believe in the sun. I think the sun like
Yeah.
dictates when we should be awake and sleeping, and I don't know. I'm just gonna be following that. There's no way I could be freaking staying up.
Well, there's a reason that the sun exists, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's there. You know, I mean, our
It promotes
ancestors.
growth. Look
and-
at
yeah.
what it does to your plants. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
no
I mean,
sun,
people,
no
and-
plants.
Yeah, back in, I mean, people have followed the sun since the beginning of mankind.
Yeah,
you know what I
literally.
mean. But yeah, I think sleep's important. I'm not a big hustle culture guy or
Yeah.
grind culture. And,
Honestly, same. Like
Yeah.
I do get stuck in it though. Like I give the people that I work with a hard time if they don't have work ethic.
Yes,
You know what I mean? So like there's a difference in hustle and work ethic and like grinding yourself to death and having work ethic. Because I do value work ethic. I just think I was raised by the old generation. That's just gonna be stuck in me, and I may always just be like a worker bee type
Yeah.
mentality. But like I feel like stuff that builds comes from working for
Yeah.
it. So it's like
I'm a huge worker too. You know, take pride in anything I do, right? Like I work hard.
Yeah.
I think that if you start sacrificing other areas of your life for it, you know, obviously you could sacrifice some areas, but
Yeah.
the ones that like truly, you know, your relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it's okay to have a rot day in bed. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I feel like, you know, part of that culture is like, no, even when you're feeling like crap, like you have to get going. And like
Yeah.
I do understand that there is value in doing something when you don't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
Like going to the gym when you don't feel like it. Like that's where you're going to grow. But at the same time, like we're human. It's
Right.
okay to have a day off.
Dude,
or a
some
off day.
rot days are like so beneficial to
Yeah.
your brain, to your body. Like you just
Yeah.
need those sometimes.
I work on a farm in Pioneer, Kentucky, and they have 4 dogs, and they go out of town twice a year. And I was actually last week at the farm dog sitting for about 6 days.
Yeah.
I did nothing, and it was awesome. I played video games, which I don't typically do.
Yeah.
I got to go, on walking the trails. I got to go a little fishing. Just a bunch of nothing, no responsibilities, and
Sounds
kind of just
amazing.
rotted. Yeah, and I feel came back into town feeling refreshed, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm ready to take on.
I think inevitably
Or
I'm from the country, so I
yeah,
feel like I'm just gonna have to live on a farm somewhere. Like that's just where I belong.
it
I really
is.
like this neighborhood. It's a very
Yeah,
cozy neighborhood. People walk, they're nice, but it's just like being in the woods with like a little pond, just like the
yeah,
trails. It just feels like home to me, and I just feel like I can never escape the feeling of wanting that.
yeah.
But it's so crazily
I think you're doing it
expensive.
right though. Like living near the city or like in the suburbs, city. We're still young,
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
we have time to
Yeah.
go out. I would love to buy land and live off the land. And when I say land, I'm talking like Grant County or
Yeah.
like Pinehurst, not too far, right? But my wife was actually born and raised in Grant County, so she's
Okay.
like, I don't want to live in the country anytime
Yeah.
soon. So I think we're gonna try to when we get a little bit older.
Yeah.
But right now she's all about the city, and I don't hate the city. I love Covington. Covington's the best place I've lived.
Where did you
But
grow up?
grew up in Union, so
Okay.
suburbs.
Yeah.
Which was nice too because you could drive 10 minutes south and get be in the country.
Yeah. So
10
what school
minutes
did you go
north.
to?
I actually went to Heritage Academy.
Okay.
I was in Riles District, but I grew up in a very religious home.
Oh,
So
cool.
started at Calvary Christian, and then I had a sister 9 years older than me. In her senior or junior year, she transferred to Heritage Academy, which is in Florence. And then my mom just made me follow her, and
Yeah.
stuck there until I graduated. And there was 12 kids in my graduating class, and it was cool because it was easy for me to get away with sleeping in class
Yeah.
and kind of just doing what I want. Not to knock the school, but
Right.
it was they just, as long as you grasped the idea of God, and that's what they cared about, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, they might have cared about education, but like God was like their number one, what they wanted to
I only
teach
know
you.
one other person that went to Heritage. Is
Who?
Darnell.
Yeah, he's
Darnell, yeah.
barbering too. Yeah, he
Yep.
has his own shop.
Are you
Nels, I
guys the
think.
same age?
He graduated, I believe, the year after me. So I think
Okay.
he graduated in 10. I graduated in 09.
Okay,
So
cool. I graduated in 13, so you guys
yeah.
are a little bit older than
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I remember when I first met you being a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darnell was cool. I haven't seen him pretty much
He always
since high
brags
school.
about being the best basketball player in his school, and I was like, "You're so full of crap." And then I learned about the school, and I
Yep.
was like, "All right, maybe you were. I don't know."
Yeah. At least in that class, there's always I remember in my class there was a couple of kids that were pretty good at basketball.
Dude, Darnell's a pretty amazing story. He's barbering, and then all of a sudden he's cutting like the entire
Yeah.
Bengals team. Like,
Yeah.
I just love seeing people that just turn it around from literally nothing.
Yeah,
you
he's
know, 'cause-
crushing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's crushing it, and it's inspiring to see people just crushing it in whatever way they.
Yeah. Yeah, I when especially being at Heritage, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you went to Heritage, like you're not going to do much with your life,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not going to go play sports, you're not going to go to Harvard or whatever." But there's a couple of us that are crushing it that
Yeah.
graduated from there. And yeah, Darnell is one of those. And like I said, I haven't really talked to him too much since high school, but I see his posts all the time, and he's cutting like Chase Brown
Yeah.
and Joe Burrow, and he
Dude,
just
I
bought a
always
sick
put-
car, I think.
I seen his sick
Yeah.
car. He's hyped on his car.
Yeah,
I always put Grant County on my back because people say kind of the same thing. Like as a public school, Grant County's like a hidden area of like we're too far south to be Northern Kentucky, too far north to be Central, so
Yeah.
people don't accept us. And like, I think that like people from Grant County do amazing things. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's just fun to see like people that come from a similar place as you like make it and
Yeah.
do it. I love that.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, what's funny about Grant County is most of my friends from like graduating high school on were from Grant County,
Really.
like Crabtree, and,
Yeah.
like Chris Santos, Kyle Evans, all
Yep.
those dudes. I had more friends in Grant County than I did in my actual like home city.
Dude,
which
none of
is-
those guys were ever nice to me as a young cat. And then
really?
like the once I got older, like Crabtree, he was always just like supporting me through whatever I was doing
Yeah.
and just like super cool guy. I haven't
Yeah.
seen him on the internet. I guess maybe he's off the internet.
Yeah, he might have deleted his Facebook. I know he he had one.
Yeah.
I remember he used to comment
Yeah.
on all my Farmer Nate stuff when I first started. I haven't seen him on a while.
Yeah,
In a while,
I need to reach out to him. He was always doing some jujitsu and stuff, and just
Nice.
always thought skateboarders were cool. I was a
Yeah.
trash skateboarder.
I used to hang
but
out at like I was trash too. I used to hang out at Cosmic all the time, which
Yeah.
is how I met all those dudes
Yeah.
for the most
Dude,
part.
Cosmic was like the skate shop. I
Was,
used to
yeah.
love going in there, and I'd be like, "Dang, this stuff's kind of expensive," but I would just like at least
Yeah,
grab
hang out,
something. Like, I
yeah.
just thought it was sick.
I don't know if I ever actually bought a single thing from Cosmic. I just sat there all day and hung out with all the.
Do you remember
all
like
that
the
work
little
there.
CCS mag? Like,
Oh, yeah.
dude, I used
Yeah.
to burn that up. I bought only skate culture clothes and could never ever do a kickflip.
No, I could never do. I could ollie.
I
could
can
never kickflip,
ollie
though.
and I can get like the board to like turn for a kickflip, but I
Yeah.
just can't stay above it to land.
Yeah,
And I had Ricky Willis on here,
Oh yeah,
and he
yeah.
was like teaching
He's
people
good.
to skate.
Yeah.
I need to get him to teach me something.
Yeah.
Dude.
I remember seeing him at like Ollie's all the time, just crushing at skating. And he's another person that's crushing it too, doing
Yeah.
the 10 type.
Yeah, he's gonna be at the grand opening.
Yeah,
of my
yeah,
story.
I
Yeah,
saw
doing the
that,
10
yeah.
types. Yep.
I'm gonna try and make it.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I feel like I have something going on that day.
Yeah.
But, I'll see. I'll try to make it. By.
Cool.
I only live like 2 minutes from your shop, so
Yeah, at least
yeah.
stop in if you can. That'd be cool.
yeah.
So what kind of future plans you have for yourself? Like, what are your goals for the next 5 to forever years?
Yeah. Yeah, I have goals for like long-term goals. Not something that's like a main focus of mine, but well, right now I'm writing a children's book,
Cool.
teaching them how to like pretty much that food doesn't just not magically appear on your plate. Like
Yeah.
that comes from somebody working and somebody watering and growing and taking care of these, vegetables and produce and, chickens and cows. And
Yeah.
so I'm writing a book on that. It's an illustration right now. But like long term, I don't know. I would love to. I don't drink too much anymore, but for a while I was really big into bourbon.
Yeah.
I'm a big history guy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and I love like the history of bourbon and like a lot of these distilleries and history of Kentucky. So I would love to. I would love to one day have like a whiskey bourbon distillery. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's ever gonna happen. But that's it would be cool. I mean, we're talking a multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
investment for that. So that's very long term. I don't know. I would love to buy my own land and build a warehouse and grow everything there, but also have like my operations,
Yeah.
product development there. Eventually maybe like give tours, kind of like a distillery.
Right.
So as far as like Farmer Nate's and what I'm doing now, it's kind of my vision, my goal, create more of like a lifestyle brand with it. I would love to do one day maybe some like, I don't know, gardening tools or
Yeah.
whatever. Like honestly, there is nothing out of the question. I think that the way that I'm doing things, I can put out anything. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And that's kind of
no
where
box.
like I made my brand feel something just like a umbrella brand where it's like
Yeah.
that's going to be my photography, that's going to be my vintage store.
Yeah.
And so something I want to do is I come from a house where my mom was an addict and my dad was in prison, so I really want to like reach out to the community of Latonia and make like some type of group for like kids that are in those kind of houses and kind of like a structured, place where they can come and like see this, they have a way out and kind of just be a place where they can find a sanctuary and the help that they need
Good
from
place.
someone that's, been through it. And one of my other friends, Samuel Greenhill, he loves giving back to the city of Latonia and
Yeah.
like
he works at the library.
he
right
works at
there,
the
new
library, yeah.
Yeah. Sam,
And,
I love him. He's awesome.
Sam is a
Yeah.
beast. And he's always trying to do like structured programs to build the city and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm part of Latonia and I love him and I love that message. It's like I want to just be a part of that. So I'm just gonna like keep throwing myself in there with him as much
Yeah.
as I can. And it's like just be a part of his amazingness and just try to bring like, some type of joy and just, emphasize more good people in that area. I think it's gonna be fun.
I think it needs it, and I think that's what sticks, right? Like that's a great legacy to have. Is being there for other people, and like you, I grew up in where my dad was an addict.
Yeah.
He actually died when I was younger from heroin overdose.
Yeah.
I had a great mom, but like she didn't really know what to do with me. I
Right.
was this wild ADD, ADHD ran kid. Like she did not know how to control me, and I never had that space, right? Like that,
Right.
what you're
Exactly.
talking about doing. She sent me to the church thinking that that was the space that I
Yeah.
needed, but it did more damage to me than not.
Yeah.
But to like have, have that space, especially with like other young boys, to be kind of like a male figure in their
Yeah.
life, right? Like a mentor. And that's kind of, something I've always been about too, is I actually was a big brother at Mentoring Plus,
Oh, cool.
for a little while. And I think raising up the next generation
For
to,
sure.
in that way, I think is huge. So I would love to, anything that you do and you need
Absolutely.
help with, or I would love to be
Yeah,
involved
dude. I
with you
think
on
that
that.
that's something
Yeah.
massive. I've always, coached sports and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
feel like I know how to connect with different types of kids, and I've been every type of kid. I feel like I've been in the band. I've been a
Yeah.
nerd. I've been someone that was scared to talk to people, and then I kind of transitioned to playing sports and found like my image and my voice, and like so it's like I feel like I can connect with a lot of people. I moved to a lot of different schools,
Yeah.
and I'm just excited about that part of it. It's something that I've always said I want to do that, and I never found out how I wanted to do it. And it kind of like what you said, just stepping back, trusting the process,
Hmm.
and just like your good like
Yeah.
intentions all come full
Yeah.
circle.
I think that intentions are huge too.
Yeah,
I think people think that they have intentions,
yeah,
but then they don't do anything about it. You know what I
right.
mean? You gotta control what you can and just let go what you can't.
And it kills me though. It's like, man, I wish that some people had more intentions, because some people just sit around and wait to die, and it's sad to watch that, and it
Yeah.
kills me. But if every message that I do or you see me, it's like all I do is just take a step to do something and put my whole self into it. And I hope that even if it encourages one person to do it, I think that's sick.
That's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
truly is.
Yep. Yeah, it say, what you said about just, there's a lot of people that just kind of sit around. There's a ton of people that just sit around
I
and
know.
just wait, especially being in Latonia and Covington area, right? Like there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of underprivileged or like poverty areas in those cities, and a lot of people, yeah, they just sit around all day in their house and
Yeah.
don't do anything.
I
And
think about that all the time with my grandma
yeah.
too. But then, so I was driving by though, and like what you would consider the projects or whatever, where it's just like a bunch of big group housing. I was like, I used to live there, and
Yeah.
I didn't think like some of my favorite childhood memories came from those kind of places, because it's like there's always something going on. There's always a group of kids, and it's
Yeah.
like everyone's in the same situation. There's no like I'm better than you. It's like
Right.
our
We
house
all
looks
have
the
it bad.
exact
Yeah.
same, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
so I just think that getting back to like my true roots of who I am. And you go through phases of that, right? Like sometimes the same thing, like they force us to go to college and get around people that don't even understand the concept of what we come from. Like they're too rich to understand it. And it's just like, I don't know. I've been through all these facets of life, and it's like the things that make me feel something, the things that make me want to be a better person is impacting young adults and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I
I
think,
think that's good to know that, like, where your true self lies. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like, know yourself on that sort of a level, right? Like
for
that you
sure.
know that this is what I want to do. I might not know what it looks like, but this is,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
I feel like you have to experience a lot of life for that, right? You have to like, and some people are like, man, you had it really hard as a young kid. It's like, I never ever would take that back, because it
Yeah.
just gave me
It taught you
it
how
gave
to,
me so
yeah,
much. It gave
yeah,
me so much that I'll never be able to learn a different way.
yeah. Well, that's what I tell people all the time. Like, I learned everything not to do as a man. I'm not a father yet, but when I become a father, I learned everything not to do because of my dad. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that if I had grew up in a loving home where both of my parents were just happy and like I had got anything I wanted and
Yeah.
was handed whatever and had an allowance, I don't know if I would have been appreciative enough, and I don't know if I would have put in the work ethic to make it out of that situation. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Like
sure.
I think when you're in a tough situation, and I think you kind of pick yourself up by the bootstraps and you just go, and I think you learn a lot on the way. And like, sure, maybe it's a little bit tougher um at first, and maybe there's, you might not have it as easy, but I think you learn more when you just don't have everything perfectly, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
growing up in like the perfect family, or having, a lot of money, and yeah, I think you have to experience hardship to appreciate the good stuff.
Absolutely. Uh, I mean, I think that's great to wrap up on. I feel
Yeah.
like, we tackled a lot of good stuff. I got to know you a little bit better, and I appreciate you much more as a person,
Yeah.
because like as on the internet, I don't really, you only
See the good
surfacely,
stuff.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just surfacely
Yeah.
level know someone, and no, I appreciate you taking the time to come through, and
Yeah, man. I
hopefully,
appreciate you having me.
yeah,
This is awesome. I love what you're doing with the podcast and
thank you.
everything you're doing. And like I said, I would love to be involved with any of the stuff that you're doing as far as like with the community and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
and
let me know how I can.
if anyone has any type of connections or anything that they want to help with, dude, just reach out to me and we'll get the ball rolling. Like I said, the first step is just doing it and putting that idea out there. And when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So
Love it.
until next time, thank you, Nate. I appreciate it,
absolutely.
and we'll see you next week.